You have the spark of an idea, but you don't know where to start. That blank page is terrifying because you're worried about committing to a plot, a character, or even just the first scene. You don't need a 50-page outline. You need a mythical compass. What if you could skip the fear of the blank page and the blinking cursor and instantly retrieve the 9 essential landmarks of your entire narrative journey, from the ordinary world to the final return? Today, we're using the 9 Worlds Runecasting to map the hero's journey, giving both plotters and pantsers the unshakable structure they need to begin. Hi, I'm Mark Graham of The Mindful Storyteller, the channel dedicated to intentional, transformative storytelling. For those joining us for the first time, we believe that writer's block indicates a conflict between your intellect and your unconscious mind. Systems like the runes distract your logical brain, letting your subconscious retrieve the creative solutions you need. This is how you find the truth of your story. For the full psychological deep dive on the levels of consciousness, check out our Odin's Lots video, linked below. While we use Odin's Lots mainly to explore character, today's strategy involves using that same mindful approach to solve structure. This system works perfectly for plotters who get 9 specific waypoints to lay the foundation for their detailed outline. But it also works for pantsers or discovery writers to give you just 9 essential thematic landmarks to keep your discovery writing on track. We'll map the mythic structure of the hero's journey onto the 9 realms of the World Tree, and we'll introduce the concept of the shadow runes. The 9 Worlds Runecasting aligns your narrative with Yggdrasil, the Old Norse World Tree. By casting our 9 rune cards, we map the entire structure of the story based on the hero's journey framework. This spread can be used in the formative stages of your project when you only have a loose premise. You can also use it on a story in progress when you need a fresh outlook on a plot that's completely stalled. First, let's look at the layout we'll use, which covers the entire story arc from beginning to end. First, a quick note. I follow the older custom of reckoning directions where north points downward. If that breaks your brain, that's fine. Feel free to rotate the whole layout, but do always work in a clockwise or sunwise direction. I also look at story in 4 parts or acts, so you may need to do some math in your head to keep up. But don't worry, we'll wind up in the same spot in the end. Now, beginning in the center, we have Midgard, representing the ordinary world. This reveals the static circumstances and conscious state of mind where the story begins. Next, in the north, is Niflheim, representing the opportunity, or something new. This is the first glimpse of something outside the ordinary world, the awakening of the protagonist from their stasis. In the northeast lies Asgard, the awakening potential. In terms of the hero's journey, this represents crossing the threshold, the inciting incident that forces the hero into the strange new world of story. This crossing of the threshold also marks the passage from Act 1, the setup, into the fun and games of Act 2. This is where you'll introduce your character and your readers to the rules of the new world and to the characters, settings, and events that will drive the story forward. So, on to the east and Jotunheim. Here lie the forces of antagonism, the opposition. This informs you about the core people, events, or forces that will both instigate and oppose your hero's progress. The southeast brings us to Ljossalfheim, indicating mentors, allies, and tools. These are your protagonist's support network, the internal programming, ingrained responses, or external helpers that aid in the quest. In the south is Muspelheim. This represents fire, the activating force. We've reached the midpoint of the runecasting as well as of the story. This is the point of no return, the moment it gets personal for your hero, and they're forced from reactive to proactive behavior. Welcome to Act 3, the descent into darkness. This is where shit gets real. Appropriately enough, we enter right into the southwest at Helheim, the underworld, the realm of ultimate transformation. This represents the dark night of the soul, the all is lost moment where the protagonist faces the loss of every means of support and even their very identity. From the soul-wrenching depths of despair, we cross yet another threshold into Act 4, the climax and resolution. We now enter the west in Vanaheim. This represents obtaining the boon, the aim of the quest. This may or may not be the outer goal, the MacGuffin, the tangible objective that drove your protagonist across the first threshold, but it is the reward or object of the quest that has the capacity to bring hope and healing to the world. Finally, we come to the northwest, to the Ljossalfheim. This marks the return, the denouement. This represents the outcome or the course of action needed for the hero's successful return to the ordinary world. Now, whether they choose it or not, whether they achieve the boon in Vanaheim, depends on what sort of story you're called to tell. And there you have it, 9 guideposts to frame your entire novel. Once you have this, all you need to do is write. Right? Now, if you've used runes before, you're good to go. But if you're new, or if you're interested in expanding your runic repertoire, I'd like to share my personal secret to deepen the meaning of each rune. This technique takes us beyond the simple upright and reversed meanings of the runes and gives us access to the shadow runes. While the upright meaning is the conscious, positive use of the rune's energy, and the reversed meaning is the blockage or inability, the shadow is the most potent, destructive, insidious aspect of that energy. The shadow is what the hero or the world hides from itself. It represents corrupted potential. For instance, the rune Kenaj represents knowledge or creativity. Reversed, it means ignorance or creative block. But its shadow represents the misuse of knowledge. It's arrogance and elitism. And the shadow reversed? Now we're dealing with manipulation and cult behavior. If Kenaj lands in Jotunheim, the realm of antagonistic forces, we know the primary opposition is a manipulation of information, not just a brute force struggle. Similarly, Fehu can be simply described as wealth, upright, or poverty, reversed. But its shadow, upright, indicates greed, avarice, or hoarding. And the shadow reverse? That gives us theft or embezzlement. This offers a much deeper and more evocative form of opposition than simple lack. When a card lands with the shadow meaning, it forces your story to address the most uncomfortable, destructive truth of that specific point in the journey. And that, my friends, is where transformative stories are born. It's time to move beyond theory and put all this into practice. I recommend setting up your sacred writing space anytime you do a rune casting for your stories. Tools and rituals video link below. But however it works best for you, settle into your creative writing space and mental framing. Now I have my new story in mind. You can focus on your own story idea, maybe a specific character, the setting or theme, whatever is most evocative for you. Then shuffle the rune cards or stones or what have you, and lay them out, beginning in the center, then radiating out clockwise to discover the entire journey from Midgard all the way to Ljossalfheim. Plotters, get ready to start connecting these 9 beats to your outline. And you pantsers, prepare to meet your new creative compass. Now, let's discover the 9 worlds for this story. Since we have a Shadow and Light deck with double the number of typical runes, we'll want to give 5 shuffles to fully randomize the deck. And you want to be sure, if you're working with your own rune deck, to turn each half opposite the other. And this will give us a good mix of upright and reversed cards. Beginning in the center with Midgard, of Laguj reversed. In the north, in Niflheim, is Diaj. In the northeast, in Asgard, is Shadow Diaj. In the east, in Jotunheim, is Perthro reversed. In the southeast, in Svartalfheim, is Berkino. In the south, in Muspelheim, is Jera. In the southwest, in Helheim, is Thursaj reversed. In the west, in Vanaheim, is Efwaj shadow. And in the northwest, in Ljossalfheim, is Fehu reversed. So beginning in the center with Midgard, this is the ordinary world, the status quo of your protagonist. This is where the story begins. In this case, we have Laguj reversed. Laguj means lake. It stands for emotions and connectedness. And reversed, this leans toward indifference or coldness, emotional disconnect. So it tells us that our protagonist has separated herself from her emotions. She's buried them, and she's deep into her identity, which, as we saw last time, is in helping others, in being a caretaker. So she's shut herself off from her own emotions and really is oblivious to the emotional impact that she may be having on others. Now in the north, in Niflheim, we have Diaj. This position represents the opportunity. It's not necessarily the call to adventure yet, but it's the first hint that not all is as it seems, that there's more beyond the ordinary world than is first readily apparent. Diaj represents awakening or blessing. It can be the reward at the end of a long day's work. And it's that energy, that awakening feel, that literally will awaken our character to the reality beyond what she's accepted. In the northeast, we have Diaj's shadow. Now, Diaj cannot be reversed, but its shadow image represents disruption or reckless change. And it's this violent disruption which perfectly launches our character into her strange new world and suggests that this threshold crossing is not going to be of her own choosing. In the east, in Jotunheim, we have Perthro reversed. A Perthro literally means a dice cup or a lot cup used in gambling. And it stands for fate, fortune, randomness, chaos, or destiny. In reversed, it means bad luck or desperation or a karmic ending. It means that no matter how hard you try, how many times you double down, the cards are just not going to come up in your favor. This position represents the antagonistic forces, the powers that are resisting our protagonist throughout the story. Now, this can be interpreted a couple of ways. It could be that it's an agency that is denying luck or fortune or karma to our protagonist. It could also be a character who's facing this bad luck, that nothing ever goes the way they want it to, the way they plan it to. And it could be that desperation that really propels our antagonist to lash out toward our hero. Now in the southeast, we have Berkino in the position of Svartalfheim. This position represents the subconscious. For story planning, it represents tools, and allies. And Berkano literally means the birch tree. It's a very maternal energy. It suggests nourishment, caregiving, or new life, new growth. And it's these forces of nourishment and caregiving from external forces, and possibly even from within the character herself, that will be her greatest aid throughout the story. In the south, the realm of Muspelheim, we have Jera, which literally means the year. It stands for the harvest or cycle of completion, of patience being rewarded. This comes at the midpoint of the story, which suggests that perhaps by having planted seeds and then waiting, not taking decisive action, because a farmer cannot make the crops grow. They can only plant the seeds, pray for rain, and root out the weeds. But it takes an external force. It takes the powers of nature to cause the plants to grow so that in due time, the farmer can harvest them. And that's the nature of Jera. So at the midpoint, as it becomes personal, these are seeds that our protagonist has planted in the past that have finally come to fruition, that will now spur her, put her into action, and guide her beyond the point of no return and into Act 3. Now in the southwest, we have Thurisaz reversed in the position of Helheim, and this is the dark night of the soul. This is the all is lost moment. And given the nature of my story, this is particularly poignant. Thurisaz literally means giant. It's symbolized by Thor's hammer, and it represents personal defense or boundaries. Reversed, it stands for codependency, or in its worst case, abuse. And unfortunately for my character, the situation she's in, and this being the all is lost moment, it'll be tragic. Moving on to the west and Vanaheim, we have Ehwaj, shadow. Now, Ehwaj literally means the horse. It stands for intuition and trust, or natural instincts. In its shadow form, this is a blind trust or misplaced faith. This is an odd card for this position, which is the boon, the reward of the journey. And in this particular story, I think it represents the awakening to the fact that there has been blind trust, that there has been misplaced faith. And it's a parting of the curtain so that the machinations, the subterfuge is revealed for the people to see. And finally, in the northwest of Ljossalfheim, we have Fehu reversed. Fehu means cattle. It stands for wealth or money or resources. And reversed, obviously, is the opposite of that, which is lack or a financial downturn. This position represents the return. It's typically the hero's return with the boon. In this case, it suggests the return of misplaced faith, of blind faith, that results in great financial loss, which is interesting. So, if we put this all together, and again, my story is about a young woman with voices in her head that may or may not be real, who finds herself caught up in a human trafficking ring. From our previous video, Jotunheim's runecasting, we saw that her wound was caused by the death of her father. So we open the story and she is emotionally detached. She is burying the pain of that loss for the obvious reason, so she doesn't have to feel it. The opportunity comes with this awakening, with the dawning realization, in this case, particularly for her, that the voices in her head are real. They're not psychosis. They are actually speaking to her and guiding her. She's hesitant about it, but she's awakened to the notion that the world is far stranger and far larger and more complicated than she thought it was. The inciting incident is this Gaia's reverse, which is a disruption, an imbalance. And this will be her being abducted, essentially, and brought into the human trafficking ring, quite against her will, to cross that threshold. The forces of antagonism are represented by these karmic forces, essentially the failure of karmic forces. And in this case, it makes sense that these antagonists are those who seem to be avoiding karma, no matter how many bad things they do. Any judgment, they just seem to skate by with no consequences to their actions. This sort of perspective breeds arrogance and devil-may-care attitude that they can get away with anything they want. And the allies, tools, and helpers that Becca receives will be in a maternal sense. This could be a mother figure. It suggests to me that the helper could be an older woman who's also been caught up in this human trafficking ring. It could be a physician, a healer, which also ties in with that sense of Berkano, of nourishment and of caregiving. In the point of no return with Yera, we get the sense that the energy that will make it personal for Becca, that will carry her through the setup and the increasing conflict and tension of Act 2 into Act 3, where she begins to fight back, will be the result of seeds that she planted long ago that through no other work of her own have finally come to fruition. For this story, I have a sense that it will be a person from her past whom perhaps she treated kindly when no one else would, that will now, seemingly out of nowhere, be in a position to help her. In the all is lost moment of the Southwest, we have dressage reversed, which typically stands for abuse. And so this may well be the greatest thing that could be taken from a person inside a human trafficking ring, particularly a young woman. The reward, the boon, being Eiffage shadow, suggests that it will be the revelation of the misdeeds of the antagonistic forces, that their dirty deeds will finally be revealed. Becca will have a hand in doing that, and that will be the reward, is this revelation, this undoing of the blind faith that people have placed into these forces of antagonism. And finally, the return is financial loss. This doesn't always have to apply to the character, and so in keeping with the nature of the reward, this also suggests that the misuse, the anti-karmic activities of the antagonist will finally catch up with them and finally lead to their financial downfall. The Nine Worlds Runecasting gives you the essential structural backbone for your story, translating ancient myth into modern, actionable story beats. Whether you're starting from scratch or stuck in a rewrite, you now have the essential framing to structure your story for maximum transformation. Remember, plotters get their waypoints, and pantsers get thematic destinations. Now, if you don't have a Shadow and Light rune set, you can use even just a single set of runes and not worry about the whole shadow aspect, though I do recommend it for deepening the character aspects of your story as you've seen. You can use two distinct rune sets to give you the same effect if you just mix them together so that one set represents the light side of the runes, the other represents the shadow. Just be sure to remind yourself which is which. If you're interested in a Shadow and Light rune set, they're not publicly available yet, but in the show description, I've included a link. You can sign up for the newsletter, and I'll let you know as soon as they're ready. Thanks for joining me today. If this process shook loose a new idea or gave you a solution for your current project, please hit the like button and share this video with your circle of mindful storytellers. It really helps the channel grow and to reach more writers who want to change the world one reader at a time. Tell me in the comments, which of the 9 realms was the most revealing for you in your current story or concept? In the month of November, I'll be tackling the Book in a Month challenge with the character we discovered last time and the story we outlined today. Next time, we'll talk about mindset and what it takes to go from 0 to 50,000 words in just 30 days. Spoiler alert, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Join me then, and until next time, may your story guide you well.